So we do $1.2 million the following year and lose $250,000. And I grown up watching Shark Tank. And at that point in Shark Tank, it was a lot more focused on revenue than it was profitability. They've changed a lot recently. So 80,000, 14,000 in losses, 2020. And then 2021, we did 600,000. So very steep curve. I lost 12,000. So I was like, cool, this is great. I only lost 12 grand off $600,000. Thought I was doing so good. And then, I was like, well, maybe if I tweak some small numbers, we can be profitable next year.
Yo, it's Eric with Painting Business Pro. I've got an amazing Painting Business Pro show for you today with Jack Magee with Trailblaze Paints out of North Carolina. Jack's got an amazing story because he has some hard-earned wisdom to share. So in 2021 or 22, we get into it in the episode, he lost $250,000 lost in income in 1 year trying to grow his business way too fast. Since then, he has really methodically built his business the right way. And now he's doing over $1 million a year, but making a lot more money and building a really great company. And in August, he just closed out a $205,000 sales month while working 15 to 20 hours a week. And he now has a team in place that's building and scaling the business. There's a lot of really well-earned, hard-earned lessons that Jack can share, including how he handles a very large job size with high-end picky customers, how he manages his own Facebook ads really effectively to scale his marketing, and a lot of the lessons he's learned along the way. So I think it's a really powerful episode that I hope you enjoy as much as I enjoyed having the conversation with Jack. Let's get to it. All right, what's up, Jack? Super excited to have you on the PB show. I think it's been a long time coming. You've been on the radar for a while just because of our history and the ups and downs. So I'm pumped to share your story with everybody. To kick it off, can you share a little bit about how things are going today and what's happening with your company?
Yeah, well, I'm super excited to be here. I've been part of the PPP community for a long time, so excited to share my story. Right now, as of late 2025, we're probably on track for just over $1 million this year. Right now in produced revenue, we're at 725 with 150,000 net profit. I've got a production manager who's been running everything for 6 months. Got a new sales guy who we're training. That's where we're at.
Awesome. And can you share a little bit about your results and lifestyle in August? Because I know that was like a record month for you, and like things, I don't think that's the new norm for you, but I do think that when you hit a new record, it's just a matter of time before that becomes kind of the new floor. It might be 6, 7 months from now that starts to become, wow, I'm like, we're just doing this. But yeah, can you share a little bit about August sales, lifestyle, what
Yeah.
that looks like?
So the whole summer has been a really unique summer. I think it's a me thing, but typically June, July, August are my lowest sales months, even more than December through February. Um, and so August in particular was a record month. We did when I posted it was 194, but we actually had one more day and closed another 11,000, so it was
Nice.
$205,000 in sales in August. And I worked, I don't know, 15 hours a week. It was crazy. And it's not like I was just selling big jobs. I was just closing the majority of what I was going and quoting. Um, I do have really good job sizes, so it's not like it was a bunch of small jobs, but it's not like I had one $50,000 or two $50,000 deals that got me there.
Yeah. What, tell me, I want to break down two of those things. For one is just for the people, what's your job size?
Right now, this year, it's hovering around 11.5.
All right. So you got a killer job size, which is great. What do you attribute that to? Because I have some ideas, but why do you think you have a high job size?
Mm, it's mostly where I'm planted. So I'm in Mooresville, North Carolina, which is the general area is kind of called Lake Norman. So it's a lot of really large, nice homes. And I've kind of positioned my brand as the luxury, nice home painter. Um, and we'll get into some of the issues that I had. painting really large homes. Definitely a different customer base, definitely a different way you have to price those homes and the people.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really massive homes, and we've positioned ourselves to be the guys to paint it.
Yeah. So how do you think, I think that's really valuable. I've seen many people do that. We have different companies that we run that are like Elkhorn Painting is more positioned in that way as well. What do you think you've done to position yourself to land bigger jobs and more lucrative jobs?
Well, I'm really picky. Anyone will tell you I'm a really picky guy.
Yeah.
So I just relate to those customers really well naturally, and I take their concerns very seriously. When someone's super picky, I'm not like, oh my goodness, this person's crazy. I'm probably more picky than them, and I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah, we need we need to do a lot more here. So just learning the level of people that you need to be able to do that, that's been a big piece.
And then how do you think, so obviously some of it is you tended to land some of those jobs because you're picky, so you appeal to those customers and can understand those customers really well, and then that leads to more referrals, more work in those areas. Is there anything you've done on like the marketing side that or your messaging or anything like that that's attributed to targeting better clients?
Yeah, well, naturally, my area is going to do a lot of that because that's the majority of the homes. But the other piece is I've always been more of a marketing and branding guy. So we use a lot of videos from really nice homes. Um, our logo is kind of modern and sleek. Um, our messaging, the way we communicate with customers, I don't think it's like huge tips and tricks. I think when you're painting those homes and that's the kind of content you're using for your advertising, it's naturally calling out to those kinds of customers.
Well, look, yeah, I know you're downplaying those two things, but I think there's a really good lesson in there for people in general. That is like, if you want bigger clients, then highlight in your marketing bigger, more beautiful homes.
Yeah.
Like it's simple. So like, yeah, you might currently be doing a lot of small projects or whatever. When you get the big exciting ones, like flaunt them. And like that will help.
Yeah.
So I think people overlook that often. And then the other thing is just around logo and brand and look. So you mentioned the logo. How much attention do you put on just the way everything you put out looks and just the general like aesthetic of your marketing materials, your sales materials, how you show up to estimates? Like even right now, you're wearing like a button up polo, with the logo on it. What are some of the things that you've done on that side that just helps you represent, like as you said, a luxury brand to your clients?
I'm really intentional about it, but probably not in a way that I can explain really well because I think it's a lot of how I'm wired.
Yeah.
Uh, I think if you wanted to be super intentional, I'm sure there are some really good resources to be more intentional. But to me, like I just love this stuff. It does come a little natural to me. Um, and if you don't mind, I'd love to back up a little bit too
Yeah.
with people wanting to get those large jobs because I've seen a lot of people in the PvP group like really want to focus on those large jobs,
Yeah.
and it is a totally different beast. I mean, it's a different kind of customer. It's a different stress on your cash flow. Um, they're not as profitable. They need to be more expensive because you're going to get add-ons. And I've seen a lot of people get really hurt on the big jobs too. So I know it's a lot of money, but hopefully, someone can listen to that and be comfortable where they're at too.
Well, so yeah, can you elaborate on that? Like, and why don't you elaborate on it from these were the painful lessons I learned doing large jobs with picky clients?
Uh, Probably the most painful was doing $40,000 interior and getting all the way to the end with a happy customer and them not paying. That was a brutal lesson. That's a $30,000 lesson right there. And those are the kinds of things that can potentially happen. And I'm sure I mismanaged it. I'm sure there were a lot of things I could have, should have done different. That was a long time ago. But that kind of stuff happens.
What do you think the other things that what are some of the things you think people don't expect or aren't prepared for when they do land a 15 or $20,000, project like some of the ones that you end up doing? What are the things people don't see coming?
Probably project fatigue. The way your painters need to handle that kind of job is different than a $5,000 to $7,000 job. You need to be aware you're going to be there for 2 weeks. and they don't want you there for 2 weeks. It's just what it takes to get it done, and customers can get a little testy towards the end. So having excellent painters that are not just good at what they do, but also really kind people that you want to have on your property has been a big deal for us so that we can manage that project fatigue.
That's a really great point, is how much people don't want, like they're like, you tell them it's 2 weeks and they're like, "Oh, cool." But then when they've actually got painters in their house, because a lot of these are interior, in their house or exterior for that matter, but for like 2 weeks, and sometimes longer, that is rough on a customer. So what have you done on the proactive side of things? Because one thing you can do is, yeah, you can get better at dealing with it when it comes. But what have you done to improve your expectations on the front end, to help with that?
You set the proper expectations, but especially during the job, like just communicating with them. When you have good people, I'm not saying you have to be there every day. You definitely don't have to be there a lot, but just communicating with the customers, sending enthusiastic text messages, just creating that body language and tonality around, we're excited, everything's going great, this is awesome. When they have a challenge, addressing it in a way of, yeah, we're absolutely going to take care of that. We're so excited to keep doing this. I understand the way you're feeling, but we're 100% going to take care of you in a way that doesn't minimize them.
What about staging a project like that? I remember, I had an experience, oddly enough, in my own house with one of our own crews, and this was the last job they ever did for us. But it was
Nice.
literally my house, and we were doing the whole interior of my home, right before our firstborn came, and we
Oh
were
my.
also doing all the carpets in the house, which basically meant we had to, like, move it out of our house and into our house, because you gotta take everything off the floors and everything off the walls, which is, like, everything, and then
Yeah.
move it out, move it back in, and they, like, didn't do rooms at a time. They just, like, started a whole bunch of stuff. We were just, like, banned from our upstairs for, like, a week, which was totally unnecessary, because they coulda just, like, been like, "We're gonna hammer out the master bedroom, and you're out for a day, and you're back in." That's not how they did it, and there were a ton of other crazy issues. Um, which was, like, the worst thing ever. I'm like, "I can't believe this is actually happening." And then I learned from it, and, like, "All right, this isn't just an isolated thing, like, where are we making these kind of mistakes with other clients?" Anyways, side tangent there. How do you think about staging large projects like that, and actually, like, scoping them out and thinking through, like, phasing on something like that?
So, it depends on the customer. And like, if you didn't use your upstairs, then okay, cool. We're probably going to do the whole thing all at once because you're not using it. But yeah, if you've got a master bedroom, hey, let's finish that in a day. I mean, if you got ceiling, walls, trim, crown molding, like a lot of stuff, it might take two, but really put enough focus in there. So you're starting, finishing it, and they're getting at least a portion of their home back because that's their sacred space. That's your personal headquarters, your whole house, but especially your bedroom. Um, so we're definitely very mindful of that and put priorities on certain areas.
Alright, great. So, yeah, appreciate digging into some of the larger job size stuff just for perspective on people, for people. Um, and there's a lot of little lessons someone could take from that to, like, just elevate their job size, prepare for bigger projects, and that's a sliding scale. The bigger it gets, the more you need to plan, the more you need to prepare, the more you need to set expectations. But the other thing that was a big, big win for you in August, but also in general, has been the improvement you've had to your sales. Because I
Hmm.
also know, Jack, if and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you typically are the higher price, in your market, almost
Oh, big,
always.
big.
And a lot of people, and I'm sure you hear that too, but it doesn't stop you from having a pretty high sales rate when you're doing things right. So what was your sales rate in August, and what have you done to improve, and just what's been like your sales journey, from like what it used to be, how you improved, where your sales is at now, because I think that's been a big, big accomplishment for you over the last year or two.
Yeah, that's been a huge thing for my business was lacking sales. So historically, before this year, I've hovered around 25%. And that's because, of course, I wasn't doing the process. So this year, a big thing for me late last year when I signed back up with PBP and we had the conversations around money was like how I'm going to fix this year. This is going to be the year where the foundation is laid. And so, I started doing the process again, started delivering quotes on the spot on an actual iPad because, I thought I was doing it fine because I was telling people the price while I was there and we'd have a conversation around price, but I wasn't delivering it in a way that they could actually sign up. So January is when I started doing it that way again. January, I had a 42% close rate. And I was like, well, that was weird. Maybe that's just a fluke. February, I had a 45% close rate. I was like, well, there's no way it's 3 months in a row. And March was over 40% as well. So I was like, wow, that was crazy. And it was like I didn't do anything other than deliver the pre-close. So hey, we've got a 5% same day signing, and ours is not flexible scheduling. Our other 5% is a service person discount, so military, nurses, stuff like that. Um, but delivering that pre-close and then giving a nice presentation on the spot where they can see it and it's a real price and a real contract.
All right,
And
so
then
that
last
was the
month,
primary change from when you were at 25% to like 40 plus. Was I just went from not delivering it on the spot to delivering it on the spot, and everything else mostly stayed the same?
yeah, it was a
Okay.
very easy change.
Yeah. So listen, just to super underline this for anyone listening: if you're not delivering your estimates on the spot, that in Jack's case, that was like a 70% growth on the business.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you think about, you're doing 400K a year, 70% growth is adding like $250,000-$300,000 a year to your business. Like how much would that add to your bottom line? Like it's the easiest win in the world. When I talk to people who are not delivering their estimates on the spot, I'm like, all right, man, this is like such a slam dunk, but that's the thing. You don't need to go through a coaching program to do that. You just start doing it and you will sell more jobs. All right. And then where'd you go from there? Because obviously it's gotten even better, right? Because August, I think your sales rate was higher even than that.
It's like
Later in the year.
55% in August. Yeah, I think I just had a lot of momentum. I was selling a lot of stuff and we had so much work that I was able to pretty confidently say when someone wanted to think about it, take your time to think about it, but I've got another 15 of these this week and someone's going to take me up on it. That's not for the sake of pressuring you, it's just a reality. And of course, the way I'm talking to you is not the way I would deliver that to a customer.
How
But
would you deliver to a customer?
well, we've been practicing this a lot. So, they ask if you can email it to them. You say, yes, absolutely. And then put it in your calendar on when you can follow up. We're doing kind of a Jeremy Minor, take that sales pressure off. Um, and one of the best lines that we've been able to like re-engage that conversation with is there like between now and then, is there any reason why you wouldn't hire our company? And we'll say it pretty close to that. And most of the time, people are saying, no, we're definitely going to do it. And so, like, you get the permission right there. And I feel really good about the value we're bringing. Like, the other part is, I'm really confident in our company and I'm not being a salesperson. I'm helping this customer. It's the right thing for them to do. So then I push just a little bit more and say, okay, cool. If you're definitely going to do it, I'd love to save you the extra money. I mean, is there anything I can do to earn your business while I'm here? And just that extra pushback, I mean, you get even more people who sign up because they're like, okay, yeah.
It doesn't take much,
No, no, it's not some crazy objection handling thing. It's just staying in the sale.
Yeah. Great, man. All right. So there was something you said a few minutes ago. You said when we started working together again a year ago, we said this year is about fix. This is the year of fixing. So what needed fixing?
Well, and maybe I said it wrong. This was the last year that I wanted to stay at the $1 million mark because I've been at the $1 million mark since 2022. Um, and maybe we can talk about that briefly. Our revenues have gone down each year, but my profitability has risen every single year. Um, So I wanted to make sure that we could be super profitable. I wanted to get a good team in place to be able to get into 2026 and do 1.5 to 2.5. I'm not really concerned about the revenue figure next year. I just want to be able to grow and actually have a team do that for and with me.
All right, great. So yeah, let's dig into that because that's been a big part of your story is profitability and revenue versus profit. Like that's a flip for you from like the early days when it was like grow at all costs as fast as humanly possible. And in some cases, like just not even paying attention to, I mean, I'll let you tell that, but like
Yeah.
maybe not making all the best profitability decisions during that time to now, hey, revenue stayed the same, but we literally made more money every year. And also you've been building a foundation to grow the right way with the right people in a profitable way. So yeah, can you take us through that? What you did at the beginning and kind of like the mistakes you made. So if you were to be talking to Jack from 2021 or whatever it was, what was the mindset you were in, and what would you tell yourself?
Yeah. So I think you put it very generously that I maybe didn't make the best profitability decisions. They were awful decisions. Um, so I started in February of 2020 and I was living at home. I had always worked, like I didn't go to college, so I'd always worked. I saved up all my money. I was living at home, but I wanted financial freedom and financial independence. So
How old were
first
you when you started the business?
year, 21.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I was 21 when I started. And so the first year we did 80,000 and lost 14. And I thought that was great. I didn't realize you could be profitable at first. That already was a red flag. And it came from, I'm living at home. I have no expenses and I have a lot of money in the bank. I could afford to lose some money at that point. And I grown up watching Shark Tank. And at that point in Shark Tank, it was a lot more focused on revenue than it was profitability. They've changed it a lot recently. But so 80,000, 14,000 in losses 2020. And then 2021, we did 600,000. So very steep curve. I lost 12,000. So I was like, cool, this is great. I only lost 12 grand off $600,000. Oh, I thought I was doing so good. And then, yeah, I was like, well, maybe if I tweak some small numbers, we can be profitable next year. So we do $1.2 million the following year and lose $250,000 one year. Oh my goodness. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. I think that's a place to sit for just a second. So yes, I was growing at the cost of growing. My marketing was not where it needed to be, but that probably wasn't the biggest piece. It was like a 15% cost of acquisition. So not good, but that's not where 250,000 went.
Yep.
Um, I was just, I didn't care what the price of the job was. I was just selling really big jobs. I was doing 50 plus $1,000 jobs. Customers were asking me for extra stuff. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And our cost of goods sold that year were about 95%. And I wasn't tracking it. I had no clue. Um, and then on top of
It was
that,
just lots of money coming in and then bills, like, so there's a lot of cash coming in and then there's a bill and you write the check for the bill and didn't really track it. Just kind of like, hey, volume wins. Like it's a volume game. Is that kind
yeah.
of, and then all of a sudden you're like dipping into line of credit or whatever it was, savings, all that stuff. And then you got to the end of the year and it was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, we had dug out of some of like a decent amount by the end of the year. If you looked at August, August is about when it would have shown like 175 in losses. And by the end of the year, it was about 115 in losses. Where the extra 75 comes from is workers' comp audit,
Mm,
which is part of it too.
yep. Fun.
But also, I had a huge team of people. I had like 5 people on payroll for management at one point, doing 1.2 million. I had a sales guy who was only commissioned on revenue, so he didn't care either. Production manager who had a very handsome salary and was not accountable to numbers, and that's my fault. I didn't have it set up for him to be. I had a media manager to go out and take videos of the project, who I was paying $1,000 a week. I had a color consultant who was my old production manager, and she wasn't doing very well, but I was too much. I didn't have the balls to fire her. So I kept her on. And then I also had an office person who she actually did a lot of great automation stuff for the business, but refused to answer the phones. I mean, that's $5,000 a week plus in payroll for an
Yep.
unprofitable business. Um,
And just for perspective, this year you're going to do a similar revenue number, and your team now is.
yeah, so we're going to do a similar revenue this year, and my team is one production manager, and we just brought on a salesperson.
All right, no office managers, just those two.
Just those two.
All right, great. If you're listening to the podcast, almost every single person that we talk to on the show is someone that we have worked with at Painting Business Pro. If you run a painting company or you're starting a painting company and you are really serious about building an amazing business while having a great lifestyle along the way, that is what we do best. When you work with us, you'll plug in to all of the systems, playbooks, training, and get coaching from me and my team. That's the training, systems, playbooks, and team that runs our currently $40 million portfolio of painting companies. It's the stuff that's working right now. We're actually doing this stuff day in and day out, and we love coaching people and helping people grow. So if you're interested in getting some help and working with us, head over to paintingbusinesspro.com and apply now, and we look forward to talking with you soon. And what have you gotten your cost of goods sold to and your gross profit margin to? So rather than making 5% gross profit, you're now making.
Yeah, so this year we are so far at 45%.
Yep.
Which last year was at 35%, and the year before that it was at 25%. So we've been making about a 10% improvement each year since 2022.
Are you going to get yourself to 50?
Yep. So we did another 6% price increase, and we've been working on paying out 48% instead of 50%. And we've job costed every single job. So we've started to notice that stucco homes were a place that we were losing money because of extra materials and a lot of other things. But I think if someone were wanting to get the gist of how we're making some price improvements, we're job costing everything down to the dime.
Yeah. And just for someone listening, like job costing gets thrown around a lot. What does job costing mean to you? Like, what does that actually look like? What do you, when you say we're job costing, what are you doing?
We're determining the revenue sold, how much we pay in labor, and how much we're paying in materials.
On a per job basis?
On a per job basis, because we do POs at Sherwin-Williams for every single job. And then we're also putting notes in the side column of like what we could have done better on the sales and production side to get it more profitable.
All right. So it's a lot of iterative process. So if we look from 2020, what was the 1.2 is 2022 was 1.2 million, lost a ton of money. So that was 22. And then 23, 24, 25, the gross margin went from 5 to 25 to 35 to 45. And now you're going to be at 50. And revenue stayed flat, but you're making, instead of 50 grand on a million, on gross profit, you're making 450 grand on a million. And then you said your cost of acquisition, your marketing cost was 15% in 2022. What is that at this year?
Since then, it's never been above 5%. And 2022 is when I learned how to do it myself.
All right. So there's another 100K right there. And then you also cut tons of staff. So big swings, no change in revenue. Can you speak to the lifestyle and experience of running your business in 2022 versus 2025?
Yeah. So I was working so hard, like 60+ hour weeks. I was super stressed, didn't know where money was going to come from. I mean, it was miserable. 2023 was a lot of the same, because what you also don't realize is when you start making money, the losses from a previous year don't offset it. So I'm still having to pay taxes. I got that workers' comp audit that comes through. So it felt like a lot of the same. 2024, I realized if I'm going to keep doing this, I need to enjoy it.
Yep.
So I took a big step back, focused on getting more efficient at what I was doing, focused on the people. But this year, we had the people in place. It's the foundation that I had built those other 2 years. We had great painters in place. So when I was managing production earlier, I mean, it took me maybe 5 hours a week to manage about 20,000 a week in production. Very easy. And I was selling still about 20 hours a week in the field. So I 25 hours tops a week doing about $1 million on my own. And right now, it's driving me a little crazy. I'm about, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 hours a week.
Now that your salesperson's in place?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big shift. You know, and I the reason I'm asking, Jack, is so someone who's listening can realize that like there's a little bit of a culture of hustle and sacrifice to succeed. And I think you're a really good demonstration of the opposite can be true,
Mm-hmm.
that you were hustling and sacrificing and working your tail off and growing really fast and working 60 hours a week and miserable and not making money. And
Mm-hmm.
now you're working a lot less. You enjoy it. You love it. You're making a lot more. And the other piece is you have a very strong foundation and profitability to be able to grow the business with a team now, which is really where freedom happens, is when you've got the team. And, you know, when you said it's driving me crazy a little, is it like you need more to do, or what do you mean where, when you said like, yeah,
Yeah. I don't do this so I can retire early, but I'm kind of at the point where I basically just retired myself with
yeah,
the salesperson. And I want to be doing a little bit more, but I don't want to grow for growth's
right.
sake. Like I could pump marketing. I could go out and sell with him. We could get, I don't know, 300,000 a month in sales, and but it just, I don't want to do that again. So a lot of patience, and I think something that we've talked about multiple times is we have a lifetime to build this, an entire lifetime to build a really, really good painting company. So there's no rush.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great, man. Just since I was going to go somewhere else, but we'll go to that first since you just said it. Um, I mentioned this to you before we started recording. It's just that one of the most profound shifts I've seen out of you from the lesson you learned the very hard and expensive way, was the pace in which you grow. You use the word patience. What have you discovered about, like, what have you just discovered about that? How you thought you needed to grow and what you thought it needed to feel like, and then how you know, kind of the pace with which you grow the business the last couple years. Like, yeah, can you just shed some light on that for people? Because it's not easy to do that. Like, it's easy to say it, it's easy to hear it, but it actually is hard to slow down and do things methodically. Um, it's maybe a little easier when you got roasted trying to go fast.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, yeah, well, that I know for sure that didn't work. So, you know, that helps probably. But what is the pace? If you could like articulate kind of like what it's like the way you methodically build the business now, and what's been hard about doing it, quote unquote, and I put in quotes, slow, because it feels slow, but it's not actually slow. It's really how you scale fast in the slightly longer time horizon. But yeah, what's the pace you grow now, and what's been hard about that?
The hard part is the game of it. So I'm still desensitized to money, right? I'm still not a money motivated person. So I do this for the game of it and enjoying it. Like you said, it's a little bit easier for me because I got absolutely cooked losing 250. So I know that doesn't work. But I just want to be happy. Like I want to pursue happiness. And to me, if you grow too quick, you don't have space for anything else. I want to have space for family. Uh, we've got our first on the way, which I'm super excited about. I want to have space for the people in my company. So another lesson is, yes, I've talked about quality of painters, but I don't think my company has been truly powerful until I got really great people on the management side too. Like it's been such a lonely, hard journey. That's helped with the patients because I love who I'm doing this with. Really love it. Um, I love what we're doing for our customers. So our customer experience could be better. Everything can be better, but it's above and beyond. So I just feel like yes, it's tough to be patient. I want to keep playing the game of growing, but I love everything about what I'm doing now, and I don't want to mess it up.
What I want to get at is what it actually has taken to create a really exceptional customer experience, to develop a really high performing team of painters and crews. And you subcontract, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have one employee team of
Yep.
2 people. The
Okay.
rest is
And then what it's taken to hire and train and develop your currently production manager, but it'll be your sales rep now too. What has it taken to actually do that?
so. I really enjoy talking with you because I always realize that I'm not as intentional as I should be. Because I think you would have a much more intentional answer than I'm going to have. So for the customers, especially when I started and I was hands on with the customers, I was always asking for feedback in a very genuine way. When I had customer complaints, I didn't take them personally as attacks. I took them as opportunities to improve our process and what our customer really wanted, um, which actually mitigated a lot of the complaints. Because when you take someone's feedback like that and they feel like they're a part of helping you make this experience better, they feel important. So, as far as customers, listening, like genuinely listening and caring. Uh, Painters, that comes partially from customer feedback. We understand that our customers want to be able to communicate with our painters. Having contractors in my personal home or experiencing contractors in my family's home and the difference in the workers, and also feedback from our painters because attrition is really expensive. So, how do we keep painters for a long time? One of our guys that's been with us for 3 years, I asked him if he had any vacations scheduled for July. And he said, "No, I don't think I'm going to take a vacation this year." I said, "Well, that's not going to work." And so I got him and his family an Airbnb for a full weekend, a long weekend, um, and paid for a few meals for them, which for me was like $1,000, but for them it was quality family time. And then as far as these new people, like the production manager and sales guy, where I've gone wrong in the past is hiring people because I thought they said the right things or I thought they would be a good fit. And I overlooked some red flags or some things that just didn't truly align. Like my old production manager, he was a great guy, loved him, but he would tell white lies. And our motto is honesty, integrity, and quality. Like white lies don't even have a place in our business. Um, so really focusing on culture and people that I really, really want to be around. As far as the training part, I still don't think I'm an effective trainer, and that's a weakness for me right now.
Well, I mean, we talked about that yesterday. That's a hard one, but you've also done a really good job, relatively, because that's a long time. It's a long time to get really, really good. Um, how long would you say in months it took for you to go from whatever the customer experience was before to like the point where you're proud, you're like really proud of it?
Mm, Probably 3 years. Probably took me a solid 3 years to really dial that in.
All right, great. Same question, but for getting your crews really dialed in, because they kind of go together. So it's probably three,
Yeah, they kind
3
of went
years.
hand in hand. I'd say 3 years. I'd say 3 years is when I understood what an A plus crew looked like and really was strict about keeping A plus crews.
All right, great. And how long have you been working with your production manager, like intentionally working with him to make him better?
See, and that's the thing. I don't know how. Like I pour a lot of time into him, and he takes it serious, and I take it serious. Um, we've been at this for the last 8 months.
Great. And
So
just for anyone who doesn't know, it's like Jack's literally on the webinar yesterday saying, "Hey, I'm dealing with this. My project manager. How do I coach more effectively? How do we, we were digging into like how to elevate coaching and training." So it's like, but the reason I'm asking Jack is because I think generally like one of the things that's hard about pace is everything takes longer than you think it's going to get
Yeah.
really, really good at it. But getting really, really good at it is how you build a really, really good company. And that's ultimately how you grow really fast. And so it's like, it's not, it feels slow, but only because you think it's going to go faster.
Yeah.
The thing that's wrong was your expectation, not how slow it's going. Your expectation is just going to be off. And it's
Yeah.
like, you've just done such a good job the last few years, just being so patient, but not like you're not working. You're just working on not top line revenue. You're working on, how do I make this customer experience really good? How do I make this really profitable? How do I make my crews really, really good? How do I make my team really good? How do I create a really strong, healthy business and foundation to grow? And it just takes time.
It just takes time.
But doing that, you've given yourself some pretty handsome, like that word you call it, production manager. I paid him handsomely. You've given yourself some pretty handsome raises building the business in that way.
Oh yeah, he's been averaging about $8,000 to $9,000 a month
Oh, I
in.
mean, just like if
Oh yeah,
I
me
was
too.
like, you've given
Yeah.
yourself some handsome raises with the growth in the business. A 10% increase on a profitability of a business in 1 year is $100,000 raise. Like that's one way you can earn more money in the business. The other way you can earn more money in the business is do another 400,000 or 500,000 in business and work way more. And so anyways, I just want to underline that for anyone listening, because it's like one of the biggest biases that screws people up is trying to move too fast and moving on to the next thing before this thing is really good. And you've done such a good job of that you are set up to, like you said, like, yeah, 1.5 2 million next year is almost predictable. Like if your team just hits their goals, you hit that goal, and all of a sudden the really big growth starts to happen,
Yeah.
as a
To me,
result
it
of
feels
that.
inevitable.
Yeah.
More than predictable, it feels inevitable. I have
Yeah.
no doubt that
Yeah.
it'll happen. Yeah.
Can you break down how you dove in and learned Facebook ads, why you're a big proponent of it, and what you've learned?
Yeah. So end of 2022, you introduced me to Ricky Dekine, and I hired him as a consultant. And I think you've seen it a few times in my journey. I'll hire specific consultants for specific areas in my business. And that was one of them. So we had about 8 sessions. We would do them every other week. And he helped me set my ads manager up. And then we'd spend money. And then we, on the next session, assess results, make tweaks, do it again in 2 weeks. And we just did that for about 3 to 4 months. And that's about how long it took me to get comfortable with Facebook ads. So I was paying about $1,000 a month in consulting fees and spending money on ads that weren't working for 3 to 4 months, which I think is where most people stop.
Yeah.
Like I think most people have a tough time on Facebook because that's where they stop. Um, but after 3 to 4 months, I got really comfortable with it. And as I've gone on this journey, I've had a few periods where my Facebook ads wouldn't work for maybe a week or two at a time. And at first, it was really scary being the owner of it. And like, it's only me that I'm accountable to. And I still have Ricky as a resource. But each time we've made tweaks, changes, and now I'm a much more confident marketer because I've gone through those lulls and those slow periods and figured out how to fix it and spend more money without diminishing returns. And it's been a really cool journey.
So, you run all your own ads.
Still, yeah.
Really great. And by the way, highly recommend that to anyone under $1 million a year. Like, you should just run your own ads, because one, it costs a lot to hire someone else to run your ads. So it jacks your marketing costs up. Instead of 5%, you'd be at like 9, which is like $40,000,
Yeah.
The second thing is you start to delegate by default the responsibility of the campaigns, then you don't learn it. And honestly, it doesn't perform as well when the owner's not involved. So that usually moves it up further, because you understand your business, your customers, your market better than anybody does. They
Yeah.
might understand ad buying, but they don't understand your brand, your voice, your market. And that lack of congruence is costly in marketing. And then
Yeah.
the other thing is, once you're at 1 million or above 1 million and you do hire someone to run the ads, the more you spend, the more involved you need to be still. And
Yeah.
and so at some point you're going to have to learn it. So like marketing is one of the most critical parts of the whole business, because if you don't have leads, you don't have sales, you don't have sales, you don't have production, you don't have revenue, you don't have profit. And I think people massively underinvest in learning and educating themselves in mastering that.
Yeah.
But it's critical, a critical part of the
That's
business.
tough because, I think uncertainty is one of the toughest emotions to deal with in business. And it's one of those things that is absolutely uncertain all the time. Uh, but it's, to your point, worth investing in because that's been a big part of getting profitability. When you have 15 estimates a week instead of five, it's a lot easier to charge the amount of money that you need to charge.
Totally. And uncertainty disappears as you develop the skill set.
Yeah.
Right? It's uncertain because you don't know how to do it. Once you know how to do it, it's not uncertain. Just like you don't really have uncertainty. If you lost everything tomorrow, you had to move across the country, you could probably get yourself back to, $50 to $100,000 a month almost immediately, because you'd know how to turn on the ads and run them. You know how to sell them. You know how to recruit the crews. You know how to, like, because you've developed the skill. So the uncertainty starts to go away. And to your point, most people quit before they learn it because they're failing. And it's like, no, you're failing because you haven't learned it. That's the reason you should keep going, because you
Yeah.
need to learn it. So we can add, Jack, one more thing to the list of what took me 3 years, which is like getting really competent with Facebook ads. And um, the impact of getting good at it is, how confident are you now? If I just jumped in there and was like, hey, Jack, one of my best sales reps in Colorado, one of my best production managers in Colorado, they're actually moving to your town and they need a place to work. Put them to work. How confident are you that you could actually just scale up your marketing?
Confident, like, because I haven't done 2 million before, I haven't done it before. But I have had periods where we've been slow on leads. So I've increased ad spend to 250 a day. I think 300 is where I've maxed out, and I've never had diminishing returns. And I'm in a pretty narrow market.
How big's your market? What's the population there?
I don't know the population exactly, but when I look at my Facebook audience, it's about 300,000,
Okay.
which is a pretty small Facebook audience.
Yep. Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share around marketing or Facebook ads that you've learned or you'd want to contribute to anybody?
In general, I'm pretty open when people ask me questions. So if anyone ever wanted to DM me and ask questions, I help, and I don't charge people to help. I just do it because I don't want anyone else to go through what I went through. So it's tough for me to give specifics because every situation is different, but I'm always happy to help.
Yeah. What's the rhythm that you have in place with Facebook ads? So I've been really focused on this personally and with our partners, and even talking about it in PvP lately, is just the importance of rhythms. So it's like, what are the things you do daily, weekly, monthly? And if you just like, this is the rhythm that if you follow it, you get the result. What are the rhythms you have for managing your Facebook ads?
And just to clarify, when you say rhythms, it's, what's the actions you're taking on a daily, weekly
On a recurring
basis?
basis. Yeah, it's like, well, every Monday through Friday, I look at the ad account and this is what I look at. And every week I produce this many new ads to test, and every, blah blah blah. Like, what is the things that I just don't mess with this, because that's what the source of the success on Facebook.
I mean, I don't want to set improper expectations because it took me a while to get here, but a lot of my ads are kind of set and forget. As in, I have a strategy to determine when things win and when things lose. But once you have winning ads, I don't get ad fatigue on them for 12 to 18 months. So there's not a whole lot of new. Um, I think something a little unique about my strategy. Well, you're asking about rhythm.
Well, that's
You're
okay.
saying
It sounds to me like, fortunately, I don't need much rhythm because my ads crush. So then you could
it's
definitely
about
answer this
monthly
with,
that I check it. And something I do uniquely is we give our subcontractors tripods. And again, we've built great relationships with our subs. So we have them take time lapses. So I'm not the one who takes any of our videos. And if someone goes on Trailblaze Paints on the Facebook ad library and sees my videos, they're great videos. I didn't take a single one. Um, so about once a month, we're looking at all the content we got for the month. We're making some Instagram, Facebook videos to see what performs organically. And then when we need to increase ad spend, I'm typically not turning up individual ads. Let's say I needed to profitably increase my ad spend by $75. Um, I would probably try out about 8 different ads at a $20 to $25 a day budget and give them at least $250 worth of spend to see if they won or lost. So I'm not over indexing on any particular ad.
A lot of testing.
A lot of testing, and I'm always surprised. I don't think I'm smarter than Facebook. Something I saw recently in someone's campaign is they had it at the campaign budget and had like 40 ads that were getting randomly budgeted, and the majority only had $10 to $15. So it's not, that's why I like to individually test each one at a proper budget, because otherwise you're not getting good sample size.
Awesome. All right. So start to wrap up here. You've talked about a little bit, but like what's next now? Where do you see this going? And I'm really curious too, not just with the business, hey, these are my next big moves. This is kind of what I see in the next year or two. Definitely curious about that. And then the other one is, what are you going to do? What are you doing around lifestyle? I know you've got the kid coming. You have a newfound amount of freedom in your schedule, which is kind of what everyone like aspires to, but then you have it and you aren't quite sure what to do with it. So yeah, what's next for you and the company?
Yeah. Spend the next couple of years getting these key people really effective at what they do. It's not, hey, let's do 2 million next year and then immediately do 4 to 5 the following. Again, as long as everyone's effective, the business is going to be super profitable. So I don't care whether it's 1.2, 1.8, 2.5. I really just want to get to being a leader and having key people in place for a couple of years. So increase, do exactly what I did. Get really comfortable and confident at this part of the business. And then as far as lifestyle, I have no clue what a newborn brings.
Yeah.
I've never done that. I've read some books. I don't know what's about to happen. So I'll probably do a mini retirement, maybe 3 to 6 months. I probably won't work at all other than team meets, and just really be present for my child.
Yeah. Dude, it's one of the most amazing gifts you can give yourself, especially for anybody who's listening to this who's like pretty young and early in their career. Like, I'm so grateful that I had people who knew how to motivate me, because I can't take credit for like, oh, I was so wise, to start early. It's like, no, dude, I just got wrapped up in stuff and people who motivated me and got a lot out of me. But then to be in the position, financially, with your business, with the time you have, the flexibility to just to be there in the early years. Like, I've been so grateful to have that. And so I'm always really inspired to, when I hear, Daniel Zuli, I know he just had his kiddo last fall, maybe. And there's a lot, of like, for people who aren't there yet, it's like, man, what an amazing gift you've given yourself, and your family, to be able to be there as much as you want.
I think if we can wrap on one piece, I mean, this is not an advertisement for Painting Business Pro, but I got Painting Business Pro before I started in 2020, and I've been a part of the group almost ever since. And you told me what not to do. You told me to my face multiple times. You're like, Jack, you got to slow down. I didn't do it, and it cost me 4 years. I see a lot of people in the group who try to do too much too quick, or they try to add extra services because ultimately their marketing probably isn't working, or they're not putting in the work to making their marketing work. Like, it literally is as simple as following the process. And I only say that because I don't want other people to do what I did. Follow the system until $1 million, then make up your mind on different things.
Well, and I say this, one thing I've learned as a coach for lots of years is sometimes people need to learn lessons the hard way, and I'm okay letting them do that. And you should be okay letting people do that, because sometimes people do learn from pain more than from wisdom. That's how they gain their own wisdom, like you have now. around pace and how to do this. And also just a really big credit to you that you didn't quit after getting your ass handed to you.
If I can share one more
Yeah.
quick story, I absolutely love everything about my wife. She is so incredible. It was at the end of 2023, and I had just made $110,000 that year after losing the 250, and I had that $75,000 workers' comp audit come in. I had two vehicles mechanically totaled, and I had my tax bill come in because I have to pay taxes on the money I made, even though I'm still in the red. And it was just like I just worked so hard for an entire year and I'm in a worse spot than I started this year. And I actually got to the place where I applied for a sales job. And my wife, she came home and she said, I will support you no matter what. Like, if you think getting a sales job is right for you, go get a sales job. But you can't go work for someone else. Like, you've done it. This year you've done it. Stick with it. If we have to live under our means, if we have to do whatever we have to do, we'll do it. But she's the reason I didn't quit.
Yeah. Well, good thing.
Good. Yeah.
Good thing.
We're both really happy about that now.
Yeah, dude, I think so. Man, it's crazy the near misses, and the lucky little things that happen in life, but count your blessings. And also, she supported you in that, and you didn't quit,
Yeah.
you still, and you
Oh,
didn't.
and I made $20,000 in 2 weeks after that.
That's pretty good.
That'll be the period on that story.
Awesome, man. All right, Jack, you're the man. Thank you for sharing the story. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the show, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a quick review for the podcast and what you gotten out of it. It helps our show reach more people and inspire more people. Thank you so much.